Hey guys, welcome to my most requested tutorial of 2022 thus far, how to create a battle pass in your Fortnite creative games. Guys, this will mainly apply to mini BR maps, but of course battle passes can be on any type of map. I'm going to show you all the details of how to create a complicated battle pass as simply as possible. In order to do this well, you may want to look at my custom gold tutorial that I already created, kind of a precursor to this video. It's there on the top right. It's also in the description below. And I also made a custom loot pool video that you may want to check out as well. I'll put that also in the top right there. And then you can also go ahead and check out in the description below that video. Those two videos accompanied with this is going to create a very unique, amazing experience for everyone that is playing your map. All right, so let's dive into what this should look like. Guys, if you haven't already, check out my Battle Royale. This is my mini BR that I've created, and it is a fully functional battle pass. That is where I'm pulling the battle pass tutorial. You'll see here when I dance, tier 1 is activated, and there you go, guys. That shows you on the left there how those buttons are going to be used to track their battle pass progress. And then on the left here, you're also going to see battle pass tiers. This is how I set up all my battle pass tiers, basically telling everyone what they get when they reach a certain tier. Guys, I would suggest checking out this mini BR map, as it will be extremely useful for you to learn how to create your own mini BR map. I have other videos as well that you should look at. I'll link you the tutorials there in the top right. Guys, if you could also like and subscribe to this video. Liking this video helps so much, and subscribing, you can always change your mind later, but it means the world to me. Thank you guys so much, and here we go. All right, guys, so I want to show you once again how this works in here. You'll see tier 1 right there. That is just a indicator that shows you it's tier 1. Tier 1 activated. Now I did pull tier 2. You'll see there with a map indicator device on the top left. I did pull that out of my BR. Donate 200 gold to the money gnome at Blake's bunker. So that's just something out of my map. You can put whatever you want, but it tells people how to get to the next tier, what they should be doing to get to the next tier. Granted, I have infinite gold right now, but you can see there, I set this to a cost of 100 gold. So once they save up their gold, they can go ahead and cash that gold in for something like a mythic weapon to get to tier 2. Now, the good thing is if you put a mythic weapon in there, they can only buy this weapon once ever. And it's just the one time it's going to take them to become tier 2. So hopefully that makes sense. But basically buying this is going to be a one-time purchase. They can only do it one game, one time forever. So you could put something maybe a little OP in there. As you see, I grabbed that item, I turned to tier 2. And now here's what's interesting, guys, and you're going to learn this as well. When I dance again over here, nothing is happening. That's what you want to have happen, because I already became tier 1. You don't want to have it where they become tier 1 again. And if you notice, I can no longer ever buy this again because you had to be a certain class to purchase it. Go down and place down a player spawn just so you can land somewhere near this area. If you already have a map where a player spawn exists, then you don't have to worry about this. Guys, as a disclaimer, this is going to be somewhere, I would build this somewhere where people cannot visually see it. Under a mountain, under the map somewhere. Do not build this out in the open because some of these items are not invisible. At least for testing purposes, you may want to throw down a floor piece or some kind of build that just indicates where your zone is going to be for testing, and then you can go ahead and delete it later. But basically, we're going to go ahead and put down a mutator zone, guys. So go ahead and go to devices, and then go ahead and find the mutator zone device. Then you're going to grab that and place it down. Once you place it down, I want you to go ahead and adjust a few settings. Now for this demo, we're only going to be doing a 1x1x1. The first tier is going to be dancing at a POI. That's how I have it set up. So you're going to want to make this mutator zone cover the entire POI. So if you're doing a BR, for instance, maybe you have something called like Rusty Nails and it's a location. You want this mutator zone to cover that entire location, because then the challenge will be dance at this location to get tier 1. That's what this first tier is. We place that mutator zone down, and what I'm going to do is have you copy these settings. Allow weapon fire, yes, because you want it to feel like a BR, or whatever map you're doing. Change the zone width, depth, and height to the size of your location. Enable during phase gameplay only. I don't want to do pregame because I don't want people leveling up in pregame lobbies. Selected class 15. You can choose selected class 15, 16, whatever you want to do. I'll explain in a minute why, but I chose selected class 15, and I'm going to go over that in just a moment. Effects class only selected, very important. Enable VFX I turn off, but for testing it's on. And then on player starts emoting transmit on channel 1. Now use the channels available to you, but channel 1 is going to be very important, right? That's going to be the channel that indicates the first tier. Before we go over that, I want you to go over to the game settings in My Island. Default class identifier, I want you to set it to class 15. Now the reason I chose 15 and not 1 is I want class 1 to be associated to tier 1. Hopefully that makes sense. So I chose something a little higher up as the number 15. So I thought that was perfect for this. So everyone that's not a tier is automatically class 15. And that way, no class is class 15. And that explains this mutator zone right here, which is you can only dance and get tier 1 if you are class 15. Hopefully that makes sense. And then this is very important. On player starts emoting, go to channel 1. We're going to drop down a switch. So go to devices and grab a switch. So you'll notice that everything's going to be default. We're going to keep everything the same on the first few lines here. Now, anything that I do change is going to have an asterisk next to it. So on the left-hand side, you'll see an asterisk, but all of this can be left on default. The reason you want it visible is because you want people to see this device. You're going to showcase this device like I showed you at the beginning. Interact time, you're going to do not interact. You do not want people to be able to walk up and flip this switch on and off. Otherwise, it defeats the entire purpose of a tier system. Auto save state needs to be changed to yes. Auto load state needs to be changed to game start. Store state per player absolutely needs to be put to yes. If you do no, the problem is anything that gets saved will be for every player, not the individual player. The next part's going to be confusing, so just copy my settings and we'll go over it slowly. Turn on when receiving from channel 1. Now there's going to be some other ones that we're going to be using later on. Turn off when receiving from channel 4. Load state when receiving from channel 10. We're going to get into this and explain exactly what this means. Check state, when turned on, transmit on channel 2, and if unchecked, transmit on channel 2. But before we get too far into this, we need to now focus on when turned on, transmit onto channel 2. That's my next free channel. So that's what I'm going to focus on right now is when turned on, transmit on channel 2. All right, next, go to devices, get a class designer device and place it down. Once you've placed it down, you're going to go through and see on the top here, I have some weapons and some consumables. These are the gifts that somebody will receive when they become that tier. You can go over to weapons and consumables at the top and choose what you want them to get for tier 1, tier 2, and so on. For mine, I made tier 1 very simple. You just get a gray gun and you get 1 mini. For this example, I'm gonna go ahead and drop 1 more mini in, so you'll see me drop that in. Now you get 2 minis instead of 1, but I just wanted to show you in this example how that works. So we just dropped 2 minis in and we have the MK7 in there. That's what they'll be granted. So once you've gone ahead and chosen the loot pool for them, these are the settings. Class identifier 1. You want to change them to 1. Tier 1 is 1. Grant items on respawn, yes. Equip granted item, first item is what I set it to. So it shows up as the first item in their inventory. Now granted, they're going to be getting this granted to them before they even can pick anything up, so nothing will be overriding in their inventory. And then I leave don't override on all the rest of these settings, which you can manipulate or change any of these. I suggest you go through these and look, but for tier 1 being such a first easy tier, I didn't want to go too OP. All right, next up, go back to devices, grab a class selector. Now, class to switch to 1. Time to switch, set to instant. Once again, I'm only going over the things with an asterisk. Everything else could be left as default. Accent color, I chose beige because it's the first tier. Enable during phase all. Change player to class when receiving from channel 2. Next up, grab the visual effect power up from the devices menu. Next, we're gonna go ahead and edit these settings. Visual effect outline, color beige, effect duration infinite, time to respawn is instant, and beige is the color of that. Remember, we're sticking to that color for this whole thing. Who can see this power up? Everyone. So not just you, but everyone you're fighting against can see that you're tier 1 now. Pick up when received from channel 2. So duplicate that same visual power up. Now in this one, we're gonna change it to glow, and from infinite, we're gonna change it to 10 seconds. Those are the only changes you need to make. That way, when you first load in, it's like, boom, you're fully beige. This sign here that says tier 1, you can ignore that. That's just for the tutorial. You don't need to put that in the game. Unless you want just something that helps you indicate what's what. Then go ahead and grab a device, a speaker device, drop that in. I chose audio selection N1. You don't need to do the same as me. You can do something different to make it original. Sound distance, I chose to be near because it's going to be just the person that's hearing it. Can be heard by instigators only. Play at location instigator. Activate when receiving from channel 2. And then also register player when receiving from channel 2. Now back to that button, guys. This very complicated button with all these channels. We went over when turned on, transmit on 2, which made every single thing back there go on channel 2. So once again, Mutator goes to channel 1. Then it says when turned on, go to channel 2, which turns all that on. We have still not covered load state and check state. So let's go over load state and check state. So we're going to do a timer for load switch and check switch. So one is going to be a 1-second timer, one is going to be a 2-second timer. You can go to devices, place down a timer just once, and then when we're done with the settings, you can copy and paste it. Duration, 1 second. Timer name, load switch. And we're going to go down here, anything without an asterisk. Start timer at game start, you want to have on. And so guys, visible during game, no. And show HUD, make sure it's set to no. OnSig set transmit to channel 10. Now that makes sense, right? Because you're saying, hey, load this person's save data when receiving on channel 10. So after 1 second, it's going to channel 10, so it's loading the data. Then after 2 seconds, you're going to duplicate that and just change it to 2 seconds and then change channel from 10 to 11. The only difference is now you're going to check the data. So channel 10, loading state, and then checking state. You want to load the state first. Then when you're done loading the state, so it's saying load the game basically, load the player's data on channel 10, 1 second, check the player's data when on channel 11. This is just another backup precaution to make sure this works. Will it work without this? Most likely, but what I've noticed is when you get 16 or more players, things get a little crazy. And if you plan to have bigger maps, this added checks and balances is super important. All right, last but not least, I want to go ahead and go to devices and grab the HUD message device because we want to do the tier 1 activated. Now, guys, if you notice, I have some code going on here for tier 1 activated. This is a little more advanced using Unicode and HTML. So you can use this if you want to copy this. If you have a PC, you can copy this. I'll put a link into all the HTML you can use, as well as a link to the Unicode for you to do spaces. Message, recipient, triggering player. Time from round start off, text style large, display time 5 seconds. So just copy all the rest of these settings. Play sound no, because I already have that other sound generator. And then show when receiving from channel 2. If you notice a theme, everything is show when receiving from channel 2 or activate when receiving from channel 2. Congratulations, you completed tier 1 of your battle pass. Now we're going to move on to tier 2. So let's go ahead and grab an item spawner by going to devices. Once you've dropped down the item spawner, go ahead and change these settings. Base visible during game off. Time before first spawn instant. Time between spawns 2 seconds. Gold cost of item. I chose 200 here because that's what I wanted in my game. And people get 5 gold per kill. And they can get, 2 gold for opening a chest. Allowed class 1. Guys, super important. Only tier 1 people can grab this device. You do not want somebody who's not tier 1 to be able to level up to tier 2. And you don't want somebody who's tier 2 or tier 3 and beyond to be able to go here, grab this device again, and then downgrade themselves on accident back to tier 2. So you want to set it to allowed class 1. Super important. Effects class only selected. And then finally, when item picked up, transmit on channel 4, which is my next free channel. So then you can go ahead and duplicate the switch from the first one if you like to make it easier. Interact time. Do not interact. Auto state, yes. Game start, yes. Same as before for those 3 settings for autosave, autoload, store state per player. Turn on when receiving from channel 4. So remember, when you pick up that item and you can finally afford it, transmit on channel 4. Once again, load state and check state can always be the channels you set up for every single button. You don't have to change it every single time. So it can always be 10 and 11 in this case for every button. When turned on, transmit on channel 3, which is another free channel that I have not used yet. If on when checked, transmit on channel 3. Something else we needed to go over. So basically it's saying check player data. If on when checked, transmit on channel 3. Hopefully that makes sense. Before we go any farther, guys, I need to go ahead and show you something very important. Go back to tier 1 button. Now guys, you need to do this. Very important to go back. Turn off when receiving from channel 4. So remember, when you purchase that gun, it's basically saying goodbye to tier 1 and hello to tier 2. You still have to go back to tier 1 and say turn off when receiving from. So like, let's say later you create a tier 3. You need to go ahead and in that tier 3, say turn off when receiving from in your tier 2 button. But you may not know what that channel is just yet, so you have to go back later and do it. So guys, as you keep adding tiers, putting a turn off when receiving from is extremely important. In this case, right when they grab the gun and it activates tier 2, that also deactivates tier 1 by turn off when receiving from. All right, guys, go ahead and just copy the tier 1 class designer, bring it over, and then we'll change some settings. Class identifier tier 2 will be the only thing you change, as well as maybe a couple of options. Like I added jump fatigue to off. So a tier 2 perk now, just slightly modified, no more jump fatigue. So you can keep jumping and it doesn't do that thing where you get tired and you have to slow down. That's really the only option I changed, but you can keep adding as you go on to more tiers. Now you can duplicate the tier 1 class selector, switch it to tier 2 at the top there. The other thing you may want to change here is volume visible in game. You want to turn that to off. Visible during game. Accent color, I changed from beige to green. Enable during all. And then yes, change player to class when receiving from channel 3. Now go over and grab a duplicate of the visual power-up from your tier 1 and paste it down, and we're going to copy. Very simple, change your color from beige to green, or whatever color you want for your next tier, and then change pick up when receiving from to channel 3 now. Same, make a copy of the glow version of tier 1, change it to green, and then once again, make it channel 3. So guys, now we're going to go to the HUD message device for tier 2. Same thing, just tier 2, right, activated, or whatever you want to say here. It doesn't have to be exactly what I write. Once again, triggering player is the message recipient. Time from round start, we're going to set to off. Text style large, play sound to none. Finally, show when receiving from channel 3. So if you notice a trend here, everything activates on channel 3 on tier 2. Once again, duplicate your speaker from tier 1. Makes it super easy. Then when you paste it down, you're just changing 2 channels. You're changing the activate when receiving from and the activate on registered player to channel 3 from channel 2. Next, I want you to go to devices and drop a tracker device in. Copy these settings, stat to track channel, reset between rounds no. So imagine you have 10 rounds and you're breaking props. You have 10 rounds to break 10,000 props, something like that. But in this case, we're just using it to track gold. Tracker target value 1, because you're completing one task, which is talk to the money gnome and give them 200 bucks. Assign on game start, no. Target class 1, meaning only class 1 people can see this tracker, which is true. We only want tier 1 to see this tracker. Tracker title, I wrote tier 2, meaning this is how you get tier 2, and then description. So this is where you go and how you get tier 2, which is basically donate 200 gold to the money gnome at Blake's bunker. And that's how it is for my BR, so I took that from my BR, and that's the lore in my BR. Assign when receiving from channel 2. So basically the button, when it assigns channel 2 from tier 1, that's when this activates actually, is when you get tier 1, this tracker assigns because it's telling you how to get to tier 2. Complete when receiving from channel 3, which is when you actually activate tier 2. You no longer need to see the tracker. It makes it disappear. As you may have figured out by now, guys, in order for this battle pass system to really work, you do need to have publishing rights and a save point device. The save point device is just one last device you can add in that will absolutely make sure that the classes are saved, so people always have their class saved correctly. Make sure that save class is on to yes. Otherwise, any of these other settings can be changed to however your BR is set up. That's it, guys. You have just created tier 1 and tier 2 of a working battle pass. Now, I do have gold set to infinite right now, so you obviously want to change that using the gold tutorial that I showed you guys about a week ago. Once again, that link is in the description below. Now, you're seeing here, we are tier 2 because that's exactly how I left it last time. So we have a working battle pass. Guys, you just learned how to create a battle pass for your battle royale map or any map using a battle pass system. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any further questions, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying my best to get to 100,000 subs this year, and I cannot do it without you. Thank you guys so much for being here, and until next time, take care.